ahead, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of IAPS Seminar Organizing Committee, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this seminar. Now we'll have an interesting session on reproductive and child health. The chairperson of the session is Professor V. Paswan. Professor Paswan is retired professor in the Department of Population Policies and Program, IAPS. I welcome you, sir, to this session, and thank you for accepting the invitation and join us. The discussion of this session is Professor Muralidhar. Professor Muralidhar is professor in the Department of Population Policies and Program, IAPS. I welcome you, sir. The discussion of this, the rapporteur of this session is Dr. Suryakant Yadav, is faculty in the Department of Development Studies, IAPS. I welcome Dr. Suryakant, and I also take this opportunity to welcome all the presenters and participants of this seminar. Thank you. I invite Professor Paswan to start the session.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. Thank you very much. And at the utmost, I will thank the Director IPS, Dr. James, and the members of the managing committee of this international seminar of IPS. Thank you very much, and giving me a chance to play some role in this seminar. I think it's the honor to be the part of this seminar. So, and I also welcome Professor Muralidhar, who will in the discussion, and Dr. Suryakant Yadav, the reporter for the presenters and participants in this session. So we have 6 papers in this session, and I have seen that on the 6 papers. I have not read the papers because I have papers, but titles given here, and I could see that there are 6 papers, and 2 of them are on pregnancy. One is on teenage pregnancy, another one is on adolescent pregnancy. One paper is on reproductive and child health profile of work. And 2 papers on family planning, particularly one is on general use of family planning, and the second one is on sterilization in India. And there is one more papers, very interesting papers. The paper is on hysterectomy in South India. So these are the 6 papers in this session, reproductive and child health sessions. And all papers are very interesting, as Dr. Rashmi already stated. Very good, interesting papers. And we get a lot of these papers, and I request all the presenters to make presentation one by one. I may announce the name. So we'll go by the name of the paper which is listed, which I got printed from the IPS website. The first paper is on teenage pregnancy in North India, a comparative analysis by Aditi B. Prasad. Before I may invite Ms. Aditi B. Prasad, I may announce that there will be, we have 90 minutes for these sessions, and already few minutes we have already. Few minutes have already gone. So there will be presentation. We'll be giving you time 8 to 10 minutes for presentation. So at 8 minutes, I will give you warning, and but finish. So you have maximum 10 minutes for presentation, and so try to keep time, and that is my request. And now I may request Mr. Aditi B. Prasad to make presentation. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Aditi B. Prasad. I'll just share my screen.
Please share your screen.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Right. So today I'll be presenting my paper on teenage pregnancy in North India, a comparative analysis. So to start off, let's state some important facts. So in developing countries, according to UNFPA, 20,000 girls under the age of 18 give birth every day. Adolescent pregnancy has severe implications beyond economic and social consequences. And complications due to early pregnancy and childbirth is one of the leading causes of death among adolescent girls in the developing world. In addition, it also increases the risk of maternal and infant mortality and disability, and contributes to the mother's mental health concerns such as depression and postpartum depression in particular. Other than this, there are also several social consequences like stigma or rejection from the girl's family or intimate partner violence. Adolescent pregnancy in India has seen quite a change in the past decade. In 2005-6, according to NFHS 3, the women aged 15 to 19 who had already given birth or were pregnant with their first child was 16%. Although that figure has declined to 8% in the recent NFHS, that is NFHS 4 2015-16, the decline has not been even across the regions. The southern states of India perform way better than the northern states, and northern states of India are struggling to decline their teenage childbearing rates. And according to NFHS 4, even the childbearing rates in the northern India is not even. While 3.8% of adolescent girls in Uttar Pradesh start reproduction early, in Bihar and Jharkhand, the story is completely different, as 12% of adolescent girls start early childbearing, while for India, it is 7.9%. So the objectives of my study are first to understand the reproductive health among the youth of the northern states of India, and second, to explore the reasons for low pregnancy in Uttar Pradesh, despite it being poorer and lesser educated compared to India as a whole. So the data source of my study is the National Family and Health Survey 4, conducted in 2015-16. The survey interviewed about 125,000 adolescent girls on a wide range of issues. The states of my interest were Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh, and my study focuses on the experiences of about 38,000 adolescent girls from these states. So so the first step, I make a cross-state comparison using a simple bivariate analysis. So the states which I compare are Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Jharkhand. These states are primarily rural and agrarian, and these states have widespread poverty, low levels of education, and inadequate health facilities. My study compares the characteristics of respondents of UP, Bihar, and Jharkhand based on 4 main categories: socio-demographic indicators, fertility and family planning indicators, maternal health indicators, and women's autonomy in healthcare. The second, what I'll be doing is multiple linear regression. This will be an in-depth analysis to find the determinants of teenage pregnancy in Uttar Pradesh in particular. So a multiple linear regression analysis will be applied to discover the relationship between adolescent pregnancy rates and each of the indicators. The population under study will include women aged 15 to 19 at the time of survey in Uttar Pradesh, the women who had either had a child or were pregnant with their first child. So my analysis is first, this is the first cross-state comparison on the socio-demographic context. So the socio-demographic indicators which I chose were mean household size, percentage of women who are literate, percentage of women who worked in the last 12 months, percentage of women residing in rural area, and mean household wealth index score. So the mean household size shows that UP has the highest household size compared to Jharkhand, where Jharkhand has the lowest. And many studies have differing point of views regarding to household size. Some say that women who come from huge family size or families which have bigger household size have greater fertility rates, while some studies suggest that these girls learn from their families and tend to have lower fertility rates. So in my study, it here shows that although UP has the highest highest household size, it also has the lowest teenage childbearing rates. Literacy also, or women's education in particular, also affects fertility rates a lot. And here we can see UP and Jharkhand are quite literate compared to Bihar, which lags behind. And when we compare women who worked in the last 12 months, again, the studies are showed two different points of views. Some studies say that women tend to enter tend to enter teenage pregnancy if they do not have employment opportunities, or they do not get to work or something like that. But some studies suggest that if the women work more, right, if they work more, then they tend to have more children, since they have more income and they think that they might support a bigger family. My study here shows that the lowest percentage of women who worked in the last 12 months was in UP, while the highest was in Jharkhand. The place of residence also plays a very important role when we talk about teenage pregnancy, since almost all studies show that in rural areas, the teenage pregnancy is quite high compared to the urban areas. And this particular indicator was not clearly reflected in the study, as UP is shown to be primarily rural, while Jharkhand is lesser rural compared to UP and Bihar. But the teenage pregnancy rates for UP is way better than Jharkhand and Bihar. And the last would be the mean household wealth index score. And as many studies suggest that richer is the family, the lower is the teenage child pregnancy rates tend to be. And the same can be seen here, as UP of these three states is the richest, while Bihar is the poorest. The second set of indicators is fertility and family planning indicators. In this, we can see that the median age at first marriage is almost similar for all the three states, but the median age is slightly higher in case of UP and the lowest in case of Bihar. And many studies also suggest that the mean spousal age difference also is a huge factor which might affect the teenage pregnancy rates, as an older husband might want more kids than a younger husband. And here we can see that the lowest spousal age difference is seen in UP, while the highest is seen in Bihar. And again, the lowest teenage pregnancy rates is also seen in UP, while the highest is seen in Bihar. The median age at first sexual intercourse also follows a similar pattern as the median age at first marriage. It is almost similar, but it is slightly higher in UP and slightly lower in Bihar, in Jharkhand. So the higher the median age at first sexual intercourse would mean that the lower is the exposure to sexual union, and the lower would be the teenage childbearing rates. As I've already stated, the percentage of women who have begun childbearing is the lowest in UP, that is 3.8%, and highest in Bihar, followed by Jharkhand. And a huge reason is seen in the next indicator, that is the contraceptive prevalence rate. The contraceptive prevalence rate is dramatically high in UP, that is almost 12%, while it's hardly 2% in Bihar. And this is a very major point which affects the teenage childbearing in these states. And also the percentage of women with unmet need for family planning is the lowest in UP and the highest in Bihar. And when I say the unmet need of family planning, it would mean that the percentage of women who want to stop or delay their childbearing but are not using any kind of contraception. The third domain is the maternal health indicators. When we talk about reproductive health, of course, we cannot leave out maternal health. And for maternal health indicators, I chose these three main indicators. The first being ANC visits. So I compared the the percentage of women who had at least 4 ANC visits for their recent births in these 3 states, and the highest number of percentage of women who received at least 4 ANC visits was seen in Jharkhand, while the lowest was seen in Bihar. And institutional delivery is also a very significant socio-cultural determinant. For it suggests that the higher utilization of reproductive healthcare services for young mothers is seen in institutional deliveries. So the institutional deliveries is seen to be the highest in UP and the lowest in Jharkhand. And a similar pattern is seen in uh, percentage of women receiving ANC from a skilled provider, as it's also the highest in UP and lowest in Bihar. Pretty low in Bihar, and Bihar really needs to work on the skilled birth attendants. And the last but not the least domain which I have tried to explore in this study is women's autonomy in healthcare. So women's autonomy in healthcare is some studies suggest that a determinant for higher utilization of reproductive healthcare services for young mothers or teenage mothers is female autonomy. So the female autonomy is seen to be very high in Jharkhand, but it is quite low in Bihar and UP as well. So these are some of the indicators which I tried to compare for these 3 states. But again, this cross-state analysis does not show that one particular state is performing better than the others, or it does not really reflect why UP has such tremendously low teenage pregnancy rates. Because in some aspects UP performs really well. For example, contraceptive prevalence rate or something like that. While in other aspects UP performs poorer compared to Jharkhand. So I tried to explore Uttar Pradesh in particular. This is yes, sir.
You have consumed your time, so please conclude. You have already
Right, sir.
taken 10 minutes.
Oh, all right. I wanted to discuss teenage pregnancy in childbearing in Uttar Pradesh in particular, but okay, I'll just quickly just tell the main findings of my analysis is that I found that the wealth and the median age at first marriage, median age at sexual intercourse, postpartum abstinence, CPR, and the unmet need for family planning, as well as the percentage of women who preferred to wait for at least 2 years was the main factors which influenced the childbearing in Uttar Pradesh, or lower childbearing in Uttar Pradesh. So, of course, Uttar Pradesh also has more scope for declining the teenage pregnancies further, as the child marriages still remain prevalent in Uttar Pradesh, and that's an aspect which could be explored further. And in conclusion, I'd say that adolescent girls are still engaging in unsafe sex and indulging in risky sexual behavior, though at a lower rate. And the contraceptive use and reproductive health services have improved in Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh compared to a decade ago, but high enough to be considered dangerous. And lack of awareness and information about safe sex and restricted access to services can be responsible for high demand and unmet need for family planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aditi, giving a very good insight of the teenage pregnancy in 3 states. You have data, you get comparative analysis of these 3 aspects. Good, interesting one. So, thank you very much. And let me invite now the second presenter and the question answer on the presentations. So I may Manoj Bhatwa. He is going.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Bhatwa, Manoj, please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
And please keep in timing. Please
Sir,
time.
it was visible to all of you?
Yes, it is visible. Go ahead. It is visible. Your slide is visible.
Good afternoon to all of you present here. Myself, Manoj Dakua. I will presenting my article entitled "Examine the effect of household wealth and migration status on utilization of family planning among women in India." Firstly, if we see the developing countries and which countries in transitional space, maternal health, child health, and rising population remain challenging. In all over the world, India was the first country to have launched a national program for family planning in 1952. Over the decade, India's family planning program has transformed in terms of policy and also implementation. Indian family planning programs are currently repositioned to achieve population stabilization, promote reproductive health, and reduce maternal, infant, and child mortality and morbidity also. Over the decade, the Indian family planning program has shown significant achievement. My objective of this study aims to explain the pattern and factors that affect the utilization of family planning among the poorer as well as migrant. Data source and methodology. The present study utilized the 4 round of NFSS in 2015-16, and NFSS was a large-scale multi-round survey conducted in nationally representative sample for household throughout all over the India, and it was corroborated with effect of many organizations such as UNKID, DFID, UNICEF, UNFPA, and IIPS Mumbai. Mumbai is the nodal agency for this conducting survey. Sample size, NFSS 4 recorded around 7 lakh women aged 15 to 49 years and 6 lakhs household using two-stage stratified sampling design with a 97% response rate. And the present study focused on the entire individual women aged 15 to 49 and utilized IR file. And this current study measured utilization of family planning methods among poorer migrant, non-poorer migrant, poorer non-migrant, and non-poorer non-migrant also. Explanatory variable. This study included some socioeconomic and demographic predictor such as group variable for wealth and migration status, and birth order, age of women, education, partner education, religion, region of resident, type of the resident, caste, and media exposure. Analytical approach. One thing is that NFSS scope to estimate migration status, demographic, socioeconomic, and health related information. During the survey, asked every individual woman how long you have been continuously in this current place, and the respondent were give the option to answer always, number of years, and visitor. In this study, those who are response as always, they are considered as non-migrant, and those who are answered in number of years, they are called migrant. Analytical approach. In this analytical approach, bivariate analysis was applied to understand the proportion of family planning method utilization by 4 combination of economic and migration status. I-score statistics were carried out to know the bivariate difference and association of family planning method utilization by selected characteristics, and binary logistic regression was applied to know the factor associated with family planning utilization among migrant and those who are poorer for selected background variable. This study present the result binary logistic regression model predicted probability with a 95% confidence interval. And result, first on descriptive information of the respondent, the majority of the women were from non-poorer migrant, followed by poorer migrant. Nearly 1/4 of the women were in age group 15 to 19 and 20 to 24. And 60% of women were residing in rural areas. In NFSS 4, 73% of women were currently married, followed by never married, and nearly 1/3 of the women have no formal education, and 1/5 of the women husband or partners have no formal education. However, half of the women have completed their secondary education, and husband and partner also. About 43% of the women were from 3 or 3 plus birth order. Exposure to any mass media was very high. The majority of women were Hindu, and they are belong to caste group. Differential in family planning method utilization. If you see the diagram, among non-poor migrant who are the more user of family planning, maybe traditional or modern. Nearly half of the individual women are used any kind of family planning method, followed by poorer migrant, which is about 40%, and poorer non-migrant is very less very less family planning user, nearly 10% only. And Kruskal-Wallis test result shows that there was statistically significant difference in family planning utilization between 4 categories with wealth and migrant status. Factor associated with utilization of family planning: women's age group, type of resident, marital status, women education, husband and partner education, mass media exposure, birth order, religion, caste, and religion of the resident significantly determine family planning method in India, particularly among the poorer migrant group and non-poorer migrant group. The likelihood of family planning was higher among the poorer migrant and non-poorer migrant, migrant women age 35 to 39 years compared to women who are 15 to 19 years age group. The effect of the resident type on family planning 1.15 times higher among the rural non-poorer non-migrants compared to urban non-poorer non-migrants. The odds of family planning among poorer migrant and non-poorer migrant who had completed their primary education 1.3 and 1.003 times higher compared to those who are not taking any kind of formal education. Discussion part. In this trend in family planning utilization indicate the government and international organization increased investment and commitment were needed for the all people reproductive right, and to help fulfill the convented of 2030 agenda for sustainable development. That is, no one will be left behind. And this study is a comprehensive analysis for examining the effect of household wealth status and migration status of individual women. The findings suggest that those in higher birth order are often considered as a result of lack of family planning method, and lack of family planning method is as a result of the combination of higher birth order and leisure birth interval. And higher the contraceptive prevalence rate among women. Kruskal-Wallis test shows the significant difference in contraceptive prevalence among poorer migrant, non-poorer migrant, poorer non-migrant, and non-poorer non-migrant. Conclusion part. This present study adds the existing knowledge about contraceptive prevalence in India among women and an initial step in exploring the utilization of contraceptive inequality beyond wealth index difference. The difference in family planning utilization concerning 4 categories of wealth and migration status is considerable. Present study identified 2 distinct groups in terms of utilization of family planning method in India, one for poorer non-migrant and another for non-poorer non-migrant. This study highlights some important areas that govern the international organization who consider under different family planning programs. Moreover, specific attention is needed to significantly poorer non-migrant women about the benefits of timely proper family planning methods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj, giving a nice talk on the migration status and utilization of family planning in India. And of course, there will be a lot of writing and questions that will. The third presenter, Miss Swati Saraswati. And she is going to make presentation on cross-sectional study of to assess reproductive and child health profile of working women residing in urban settlement of Gwalior city. So now over to you, Dr. Swati. Yes. Dr. Swati, you can start now.
Not audible.
Dr. Dr. Swati,
Hello.
yes,
Hello.
yes, yes. Dr. Swati,
Hello.
please go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Hi, yes, sir. Sir,
Yes,
audible, sir. I am audible.
I can hear you.
Yes, yes, very much.
I'm not audible to your
Yes, sir.
slide.
Sir. Introduction in the yes, sir. Yes. So my study topic is study to assess productive and child health profile of working women living in urban slum of Gwalior city. Next slide, please.
Just
Next,
click slide show. It will
uh,
become bigger.
please next slide, please. Next slide. Introduction. In the past few decades, India has shown enormous growth in the field of industrialization, and it has provided plenty of job opportunities in urban industrial areas. Most of the industrial areas are adjoined to cities, and which is one of the key reasons for the migration of people from rural to urban areas in search of job opportunities and prosperous life. However, with limited resources in terms of land and other environmental resources, major proportion of poor migratory people accommodate themselves into small dwellings where water, food, and shelter-related hygiene and sanitation parameters are compromised. These settlements on gradual expansion result in urban slum. Lack of basic amenities such as safe drinking water, proper housing, drainage, and excreta disposal make this population vulnerable to infection, which further compromises the nutrition of those living in the slums. In the case of working women of slum, because of dual responsibility of family as well as work, high possibility that health of women and their children influenced by her working status. Next slide, please, sir. Objective of the study to find out the relation of women's work status with RCH profile of urban slum community. And the next is to study RCH services utilization among working women. Material and methods of the study is a cross-sectional, community-based observational study to carry out in urban slum of Gwalior city from January 2020 to March 2020 using multi-stage sampling method among working and non-working women. This city is divided into 66 wards. These 16 identified urban slums included, and from these urban slum area randomly selected 240 youngest mothers household were included, and after getting informed verbal consent then interviewed through pre-tested semi-structured questionnaire which include socio-demographic profile, working status, reproductive and child health services variable. Next slide, please, sir. Modified BG Prasad socioeconomic classification was used with considering consumer price index 30 as value. Pre-calibrated scale was used to measure weight of the child with minimal clothing and 0.1 kg accuracy. Similarly, with standard technique, height by length of the child was measured through no stretchable measure tape with 0.1 centimeter accuracy. World Health Organization growth standard weight for age was used to categorize nutrition status of the child. IMNCI guideline was used to assess adequacy of food consumed by child. Data entry and statistical analysis was carried out using SPSS software. Next slide, please, sir. From result. From a total of 240 study participants, working women were 33 as shown in the table 1. Nearly 73% of employed women were working for 3 to 6 hours a day. Majority of working women were from joint family, that is 45%, and from the age group of 26 to 30 years of 65%, while a large proportion of working women was illiterate, that is 30%. No significant difference was observed in socioeconomic class among working and non-working women, and similarity was observed in the type of house and toilet facility usage. Next slide, please. Age at the time of marriage and first conception was significantly higher among non-working women or housewives. 72% working women had less than 36 months of birth spacing between two children. Inadequate antenatal care, that is 66%, and low birth weight, that is 36%, were more common among working women in comparison to non-working women. The significant proportion of mother, that is 81%, had initiated complementary food for their child earlier. In case of working women, dietary intake in children, that is 59%, was inadequate, and only 39.4% children were fully immunized, and proportion of underweight in children is 65% in working women, and in non-working women it is 55%. Here is the discussion. Lower utilization of ANC services. ANC services and family planning services was also shown in the study of Hazarika, Devsenapati et al., Mukesh et al., and Kumar and Bharadwaj. Higher prevalence of malnutrition and poor vaccination coverage among children of working women was suggestive of requirement of focused intervention for nutrition and immunization among this vulnerable group through health system. Similar studies regarding malnutrition, immunization, underutilization of health services were shown by different studies carried out at Rajkot, Jamnagar, and Mumbai. Next slide, please. Conclusion. Our studies to evaluate the effects of working status of women on reproductive and child health demonstrated certain advantages such as delay in the age of marriage, age of first conception, birth spacing, and improved immunization. While certain disadvantages such as inadequate antenatal care, early initiation of complementary feeding, and malnourished children, the study recommends to improve the ease of access to antenatal care, Anganwadi services, and provide support to working nursing mothers at the proximity of workplace. The differences. Next slide, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Swati,
Thank you.
this presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Status of working women and reproductive health. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, sir.
I invite next presenter. Next presenter is Monisha Ishrani. So I may request Monisha Ishrani to make your presentation, please. Open your slide and go in the slideshow and make your presentation. You have 10 minutes. And her paper is on criticality of sex education and unintended adolescent pregnancy to amidst COVID-19 crisis. Good. Go ahead.
A very good afternoon to all the members of IIPS seminar. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. Am I audible, sir? Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are very much audible. Just introduce yourself and continue.
Okay. The objective of my paper is to analyze the interplay of poverty, patriarchy, and pandemic, which are predisposing the ignorant female adolescent population who are at risk of experiencing unintended consequences due to lack of access to family planning, sex education, and contraceptive services. As we can see the data in this particular slide, that there is a huge unmet need for family planning among adolescent groups. And there are also a huge need for us to integrate sex education as an integral component in the education as well as health policy dimension. In this slide, I have discussed the interconnection between school closure, child marriages, and teenage pregnancies. As we can see from the previous pandemics, that teenage pregnancies rose and they almost doubled in Sierra Leone in 2014 when as a result of these school closures. So there is a strong interconnection between school closures, these extended school closure in the COVID-19 pandemic, which is also acting, and it is acting as a catalyst in spearheading this trend. So the pandemic-related school closures need to be addressed, and as schools function to provide safety and protection to these young female population. Also, we can see there is a rise in child marriages, as most parents in communities would earlier not dare to get their children married. As we all know that during the lockdown, the permission to have a small close-knit marriages were allowed. So many discrete child marriages have also taken place in this scenario. And this has actually increased the rate because many families who are going through financial distress and they are from the low income backgrounds, they've found this as a very good opportunity to waive off the load of marrying of their daughters, because the financial expenses of that were incurred on marriages were lower because of the small net gatherings. So these are many factors which have contributed collectively for this rise in child marriages during the lockdown period in COVID-19 pandemic. Also, there is a negative impact on the sexual and reproductive health and rights of adolescent girls. That there is a rise in female trafficking, and many girls are being pushed into the flesh trade because of the financial distress experienced at household level. Many of them have become orphans, so they are also falling prey to the hands of the perpetrators. The methodology data analysis that I have done in this particular paper primarily draws inferences from the key findings in the NFHS 5 data, which is published by IAPS. And I have covered in total 9 states for this particular paper, where I have covered both North, East, West, and South zones to give a more holistic picture. And I have also compared the urban-rural scenario in terms of the adolescent reproductive health. The state-specific values for reproductive health indicators have been correlated with 2 key parameters. One is digital access to internet, and the access to internet amongst women, both in rural and urban areas, as well as the presence of health workers who have spoken to the female population who are non-users of contraceptive services. So I'll be presenting my data very soon. In this, we can see that there is an inverse correlation between women's access to internet and female adolescent rates. And there are stark urban-rural differentials in access to sex education and reproductive healthcare services, which we can clearly see that how sex education can be a very strong channel to mitigate this rise in adolescent fertility rates. And probably if we integrate the sex education in the school curriculum, we can reach out to a larger section of the population who have unmet family needs, because many times health workers do not reach out to children and adolescent girls to educate them because of the socio-cultural barriers, which I will be discussing in detail in my following slides. We need to target teenage girls is my idea in this paper, because sex education and family planning needs have actually gone up. But there is a huge unmet need because of these socio-cultural barriers and taboos that we face when it comes to children and adolescents, and when it comes to discussing issues of sensitive issues like sex with them. We can see that there is a strong correlation between adolescent fertility rate and health workers who has ever spoken to female non-users about family planning. In states where in states like Assam, we can see that the adolescent fertility rate is very high. And wherever in states like Andaman Nicobar Islands, where there is the health worker has spoken to the users about family planning, the adolescent fertility rates are relatively lower.
Munisa, please change your slide.
The vulnerability to early onset of sexual activity.
Can you change your slide?
Is it visible?
No, only methodology and data.
Yeah.
Slide is-
Methodology and data analysis slide is on the screen.
Change the slide.
What do you want?
Slide only that slide is on methodology and data.
Is it PPT slide or PDF? Scroll down.
Sir, her network connection is quite low, that's why it's happening. So just
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Continue.
Okay, go ahead. Continue. You may continue, Monisha.
Okay. Can we see the slide on this vulnerability to early onset of sexual activity among adolescents?
No, I think there is some problem with internet connection
Is
at
this
your
visible?
side. So your slide is not moving, but you may continue.
You may continue. I'm not able to see your slide, but you can continue.
According, we know that there is a. Okay. Okay. According to the White Ribbon Alliance survey, interviews with adolescent girls in Kenya, it was found that consensual sex rates have gone up because of the idleness and boredom cited as main reasons. Also, vulnerability to sex abuse and early consensual sexual encounters have gone up amongst teenage girls. There's also a high risk of abduction, rape, and trafficking, which has also changed the scenario where there are huge complications of unintended pregnancy and childbirth occurring between the adolescent girls between 15 to 19 years of age group. So there are stark realities of sexual and reproductive health indicators which we need to identify and open up ourselves to, because it is very unfortunate that we live in a very hypocritical society where no one cares what happens behind the closed doors, and we ignore facts and figures on sexual and reproductive indicators among adolescents. See, the dominant thought pattern and belief system on sex education is such that children and adolescents, they are too young to be educated about use of contraceptives. But when we look at the indicators and we look at the situation which is on the ground, it completely exposes us to very grim situation where we really need to change this dominant thought process and institutionalize frameworks that that advocate sex education in schools, and we also promote this idea to target teenage population. And this can be an effective means of mitigating unwanted and teenage pregnancies, and also reducing the rate of STDs amongst teenagers in Indian population. So, is this slide available? Traditional norms and socio-cultural beliefs. I'm not quite sure.
No,
Is my
actually we are
screen
not getting
visible?
your slides beyond your methodology and data analysis title slide.
Actually, you need to scan here.
Is my slide visible now?
Anybody from IT mode? No. No.
Is the slide
Yes,
visible now? Now it's visible?
Yes, it's visible right now.
Okay.
Yes. So in this slide, we can see there is the urban-rural differentials between adolescent fertility rates. And here, in this particular slide, we can see the need to bridge the digital gender divide, because there is a correlation between adolescent fertility rate and in rural areas and the population, female population that has ever used internet in rural areas. We can see in this particular case, like in states like Andaman Nicobar Islands, where the rural population has access to internet, the adolescent fertility rates are relatively lower. Also in Jammu Kashmir, the similar trend can be observed. And we can see in states where the access to internet is very low, the adolescent fertility rates is high. Because one possible reason for this particular trend could be that adolescents rely on access to internet as a reliable means of finding information on sensitive issues which they cannot discuss with their parents or caregivers. So internet in that sense serves as a discrete way of finding information. This is one of the reason. This could be one of the reasons behind this correlation that I have identified between adolescent fertility rate and digital access to internet.
Monisha, you have consumed your time, allotted time, so please try to.
Sure. Just quickly wrap up. So some of the clear-cut observations that I have that I need to focus on is that unintended adolescent pregnancies are expected to rise exponentially, and this is going to have a sharp rise in female school dropouts as well as high MMR and IMR in rural areas. There is going to be a negative impact on sexual and reproductive health. So we need to build on the idea of reproductive autonomy amongst teenage girls through the idea of sex education. And we need to rethink the prevailing paradox where there is a reluctance. We think that adolescents are too young to be educated about sex and contraception, which clearly contradicts that an acceptance of high adolescent fertility rate, child marriages, and teenage pregnancies in the population. So we need to find out pathways and instill a policy dialogue on sex education, which should be systematically integrated through intersectoral coordination between education, health, and Ministry of Women and Child Development. So on this note, I focus that there is a lack of political will, and there are huge paradoxes in the current scenario. We need to institutionalize these aspects, because the moment this idea of integrating sex education comes into place, the political fractions turns blind eye. And because they have a fear of outburst of discontentment and distress among masses and religious groups. So we really need to break free from this conventional old school thinking among that is dominant in the current paradigm. This is the need, because otherwise we will reverse the progress which has been achieved in lowering the adolescent fertility rates in India in the last few decades. On this note, I see that the current pandemic is in some way a jeopardy of the triple effects of the poverty, pandemic, and patriarchy. So we need to see how this whole trend identifies how cultural taboos, extended school closures have contributed to spike child marriages. There is a surge in unplanned pregnancies because of lack of access to reproductive health services. And we need to focus on these issues with a multi-pronged approach so that we can reduce the adolescent fertility rate and the maternity mortality rate that is bound to happen in due course of time. On this note, I thank you.
Thank you, Monisha, giving a nice presentation on pregnancy. So, thank you. Now we'll move to the next paper by Yusara and Anjana. The topic is hysterectomy among women in South India.
Can hear my voice?
Yes, you
Share
are
the people.
audible, but share your slides also. Yes, slide is visible.
Thank you. Afternoon,
So you
all.
have 10 minutes.
So I can't. Sorry for that. All of them hear my voice.
Yes, yes, you are audible. Go ahead. You have 10 minutes. Keep in time.
My topic is hysterectomy among women in South India. Then introduction. Next slide, please. Next slide. Introduction. Hysterectomy is the removal of uterus and in the most cases the cervix. When the ovaries and the tubes are also removed along with the uterus, the procedure is known as hysterectomy and bilateral oophorectomy. Hysterectomy is the second most frequent performed surgery for non-pregnancy related issues among women around the world. Hysterectomy is generally advised for medical conditions like menstrual irregularities, mostly fibroids and dysfunctional uterine bleeding, uterine prolapse, endometriosis, uncontrolled infection of uterus, cancerous growth. Next slide. It is of the study. To study the prevalence of hysterectomy among women 15 to 49 years in South Indian states and to understand the socio-economic and demographic profile of women who had undergone hysterectomy, to identify the predictors and underlying determinants of hysterectomy, to assess the effect of hysterectomy on selected morbidities. Next slide. Data and methodology. The data used for the study was drawn from the fourth round of National Family Health Survey 2015-16, involved a sample of 6,99,686 women in the age group of 15 to 49 years of India, and total of women in South India is 84,139. Univariate and bivariate techniques is used to identify the factors responsible for the hysterectomy. Chi-square and logistic regression is used for the analysis. Next slide. Findings of the study. The total number of women in southern states of India is 84,139, aged 15 to 49, and most of the women in the sample belongs to 15 to 29 age group. According to type of residence, more than half of the women are in rural area, around 55%. In the case of religion, most of the women belongs to Hindu category, that is 83%. According to caste, more than half of the women belongs to OBC category, that is around 59%. More than half of the women in sample are having secondary level education, that is around 51%. In case of marital status, most of the women is ever married, that is 18%. Most of the women in the sample are unemployed, that is around 66%. According to Health Index, 56% of women are in rich category, and the prevalence of hysterectomy in the sample is 32%. At the next slide. Okay, thank you. Next slide. The percentage distribution of women who had hysterectomy by South Indian state 2015-16. The hysterectomy prevalence of hysterectomy is in the state Andhra Pradesh with 9%, followed by Telangana 8%, and the prevalence of hysterectomy very least in Kerala, that is 1.8%. Next slide. The table 1 shows the percentage distribution of women 15 to 49 by the age at which they have done hysterectomy. Percentage of women who had hysterectomy before age 30 is higher, that is around 41%. And then table 2 shows percentage distribution of women who had done hysterectomy by type of hospital. That is more than half of the women undergone hysterectomy in private hospital, that is around 68%. Next slide. Table 3 shows the percentage distribution. Table 3.
I think slide is not matching. Table 4 is there.
Previous slide, please. Please, previous slide. Okay, thank you. Table 3 shows the percentage distribution of women 15 to 49 who had done hysterectomy by their background characteristics in to be high in 49 age group. Hysterectomy was high in rural area, that is around 6%. Prevalence of hysterectomy higher educated women, less educated women. For example, no education is around 11% and primary education is around 8%. Prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among ever married women, that is 6%. A higher proportion of Hindu Christians women undergone hysterectomy, that is around 5% and around 4.6 respectively. Similarly, the prevalence of hysterectomy was among women from other castes, that is around 5%. The prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among employed women, that is around 7%. The study shows that prevalence of hysterectomy was slightly higher among women in middle class families, that is around 6%. Next slide, please. Table 4, next slide. Thank you. Table 4 shows the percentage distribution of women who had hysterectomy done by the reproductive health characteristics in South India. The prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among women who had cohabited before age 15 years, that is 11.4%. Prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among sterilized women, that is 7%. In the case of aged menarche, the prevalence of hysterectomy is not significant. According to age sterilization, prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among women who had sterilized in the age group 14 to 49, that is around 11%. The prevalence of hysterectomy is higher among women who had first birth after age of 13, that is around 5%. Parity was positively associated with the prevalence of hysterectomy. Among women who had 3 or more children have higher prevalence of hysterectomy, that is around 9%. The prevalence of hysterectomy more among pregnancy terminated women, that is around 6%. The prevalence of hysterectomy is more among insured women, that is around 7%. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Percentage distribution of women who had hysterectomy done by selected morbidities in South India. Among women who had anemic, around 13% had hysterectomy. The most frequent among women who had obesity is higher prevalence of hysterectomy, that is around 38%. Among women who had hypertensive, around 32% had hysterectomy. Among women who had thyroid is 44%, diabetic around 44.4%, asthma around 43%, and cancer is around 54%. Next slide. Next. Percentage of hysterectomy among women according to the various reasons. The most frequent cause of hysterectomy is excessive bleeding, that is 52%. Next slide. Next slide shows the logistic regression examining. Considering the age of respondent, women belongs to 30 to 39 age group have 4 times higher chance. Age group in age group 14 to 49 have 49% higher chance compared to reference category. According to religion, Christians have 43% of higher chance to have a hysterectomy compared to the reference category. In the case of caste of tribe, OBC have 29% higher chance and other castes have 82% higher chance to have a hysterectomy compared to the reference category. Employed women have 75% higher chance of hysterectomy compared to the unemployed women. According to Wealth Index, women in the richer category have 50% higher chance of hysterectomy compared to reference category. In the case of cohabitation, women belongs to 29 to 13 years have 59% of hysterectomy higher chance to have hysterectomy, and more than 35 years have same chance of hysterectomy by comparing to reference category. Sterilized women have higher chance of hysterectomy compared to non-sterilized women. According to age, at sterilization, women belongs to age group 14 to 49 have 26% higher chance of hysterectomy compared to reference category. Insured women have 43% higher chance of hysterectomy compared to uninsured women. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, anemic women have 68% higher chance of hysterectomy compared to non-anemic women. According to BMI, women who had normal BMI have 65% of higher chance, overweight have 2 times higher chance, and obesity have 3 times higher chance of hysterectomy compared to reference category. Women who have heart disease is 12% of higher chance. Women who are thyroid is 6% of higher chance. Women who are diabetic is 9% of higher chance, and women who are asthma is 83% of higher chance of hysterectomy compared to their reference categories. Next slide. Next slide, please. Discussion. Rising number of hysterectomy is a matter of public health concern. Hysterectomy at young age have serious long-term health implications for women. All women, regardless of circumstances that led to the hysterectomy and the type of surgery, reported facing varying degrees of physical, sexual, and psychological problems. Next slide. In India, before NFHS 4 data release, there was no national level data available to inform policy. In such a scenario, it is essential to understand the distribution of hysterectomies women across the region of India and by various characteristics. Next slide. Next, the conclusion and the suggestions. The study clearly indicates the need to spread general awareness regarding reproductive health issues so that appropriate treatment other than hysterectomy can be tried first. Better future health, comfortable routine, and work security outweigh the risk associated with the hysterectomy operation. Next slide. Next slide, please. With the increasing life expectancy, this morbidity burden will have high impact on quality of life and aging process of women, which is a comprehensive support to address the health issues of women in all age groups, the priority of government. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for presenting my
Okay, thank you, Miss Yusara, giving a nice presentation on hysterectomy in southern India, giving the talking various aspects of the hysterectomy, prevalence of hysterectomy. So now let us move to the last presenter, the last but not the least. And this ready. Srikant are ready to make your presentation and on topic sterilization in India. So you have 10 minutes, not more than 10 minutes, please. Already we are too much late, so take 10 minutes. Start. Yes, go ahead, please, go ahead. Mr. Reddy, we are not hearing you. We are not able to hear you. Mr. Reddy, can you make your lights are moving, but your voice is not coming. You are not audible at all. I think there is some problem.
Hello?
Yes, now yes. Please go ahead.
I think that was his voice.
Right.
Dr. Resmi spoke that in between. Not Srikant.
Where listen you?
Srikant is not traceable by his audio.
Time is running, so we should now make presentation.
Let somebody contact him, I think. Dr. Resmi, if you have, find out whether he's
Yes, sir. I will talk to IT department.
Hello. But actually, I'm not able to hear you. Hello. I'm from ICTA.
Yes.
Actually, we do not have a contact with him, and his voice is not audible. So that I don't know what should I do right now. So better way, if any contact with him.
If Dr. Resmi, do you have his contact number?
Contact number. I just try, sir. I just try to contact him. Yeah.
One thing, madam.
Yes.
Madam, one thing you can do, you just call him because he is able to share the PPT, so that just keep your phone to the mic of viewer so that we can hear that, and he will change the slide. That one
Okay,
thing we
okay.
can do.
One second. I'll just try to contact him.
Yeah, that is one way some have practiced earlier also.
Yes, sir.
Let him present, speak on phone. Dr. Resmi.
Yes,
So
yes, sir.
your phone you will keep on speaker.
Okay.
Yes, so that all will be able to hear what he speaks.
Yeah. I'm just trying to contact sir. One second. I have to find his number. Sir, is it okay to have discussion of other papers? By that time, I'll contact. Will it be possible, sir?
Or are you not able to contact him?
Yeah, sir. I'll try to contact him. Meanwhile, will it be possible to discuss on other papers? Like yesterday it happened, then we did like that, sir. I'll just try to contact you.
Okay, so we have only around
Hello,
14
excuse me,
to
sir.
15 minutes left.
Hello, excuse me, sir. Manoj sir is going to make contact with him.
Okay.
So once he will be contacted, I will make microphone on to my mic.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, sir, is it okay to have discussion on other papers? Meanwhile, we'll contact Mr. Srikanth Reddy.
Yes, let us I mean, yes, we can have a discussion on papers.
Hello, sir. He is going to present. Hello, sir.
He's going to present?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And he is on phone. So you are going to listen him.
Okay. Okay. Let him come and let him present. Let him make presentation.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the disturbance. I'm going to present on the sterilization in India, a comparative analysis of low and high fertility states.
Right.
So, as we know that contraception has played a major role.
Sir, can you present? Can you share your PPT?
Yeah, I'm sharing.
Yes, please.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As we know that contraception is one of the major things that has happened to decline the fertility level across the regions. And contraception has been a key aspect of sustainable development in improving people's life. As Jawaharlal Nehru extensively wrote on falling births and death rates in a Western country after in the discovery of India. And from there, he has strongly supported family planning programs in India, and he And in India, the family planning has constituted since 1952. And UN Nation has proposed to have a universal access to sexual and reproductive health as a part of SDGs. And India signed ICPD in 1994 and made a target-free approach for the family planning program. So actually, if we say that one of the family planning or one of the method is highly used, or there is no skewed, or there is a skewness to a method, but there is no benchmark to measure whether a method has been in what we can say is skewed or not. So some of the papers have made a possible reasons for contraceptive method skewness is policy programs, provider biasness, history, and the properties of methods themselves. As Ross in 1992 pointed out 4 factors for high level of female sterilization in a country. That is the level of adoption, its availability since long term, high level of continuation, and its adoption by a range of women. Even though the impact of informed and the use of appropriate contraception is hard to measure, but the studies in Indian context have shown that there is an increase in the methods of contraception. In Asia, women, it has observed that after reaching the desired family size, the people or women resort to choosing a permanent method as a contraception. So globally, there are 19% of the females use sterilization as a contraception methods, but in India, it's exception as there are 36% of the people have used female sterilization as a contraception. And most of them have sterilized before the age of 26 in India overall. So increase in the use of female sterilization is noteworthy, considering the women's autonomy and other factors in India. An analysis carried out on the PA 2020 was found that the Rajasthan prevalence sterilization has increased continuously by 4.3 percentage points per year. And need for this study. As female sterilization is one of the cost and most used contraception method in India, and this sterilization has influenced both on reproduction period of women as it's a permanent method, and it's influenced directly on the fertility. So in this era of rapid transformation, that is fertility decline, the use of contraception, is it necessary to address some of the key questions like under what settings that women are going on early sterilization in India, both in high fertility and low fertility states, and to what extent the parity and some preferences are playing a key role in sterilization in both high and low fertility states of India. In this, I have used NFHS 4 for addressing the other questions in order to explain the role of parity and other factors mediating through early parity for early sterilization. I have employed survival technique, that is Cox proportional hazard model, have been used for this analysis. And age of sterilization is considered as a time variable. And from first birth, that is women, those who have gave their first birth, until the survey observation, that is the observation period, from the first birth to the date of the survey. So the women who have not gone sterilization has been right censored. So the results from this graph, we can clearly see that there is a lot of variation across the median age of sterilization in India. The South Indian states where there is a rapid decline in the fertility and the good improvement in women and child mortalities. But the median age of sterilization is less than the 25 years. In some of the states like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, it is around 23 years of age. And if we observe some of the northern states where there is a high fertility, even there is a high fertility, the median age of sterilization is much lesser than the global median age of sterilization. And the distribution, and for low fertility states, I have considered the 5 northern states, that is Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana. And for high fertility states, I have considered Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Rajasthan. So this is the distribution of sterilization of women by age. So you can see that up to age 29, from 24 to 29, where the peak age of fertility is being observed as per the ASFR data. The low fertility states has high distribution of sterilization as compared to the high fertility states. And this is median age of sterilization by different characteristics of women. As you can see that irrespective of any characteristics of women in both low fertility and high fertility states, the median age of sterilization is low in low fertility states as compared to high fertility states. This is somewhat I find intuiting as the even in education section where the southern states, which most of the indicators indicate that it has been developed in many indicators, but the median age of sterilization is still low as compared to the high fertility states, which are Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, Jharkhand, and all these states. So, and the same, these are for other characteristics of women. And this is the survival analysis that I have done for both low fertility states and high fertility states. If you observe as the age increasing, there is a decline in the risk of sterilization for women in both low fertility and high fertility states. But with the education of women, which is one of the important factor in deciding or choosing the contraceptions among the women across the world and in India particularly. But if you look at the results, women of education above secondary are more likely to go for an early sterilization as compared to the women with no education. And these things have not changed between low fertility and high fertility regions. But if you compare the residence-wise, there is no difference between women going for early sterilization in urban and rural, in both high fertility and low fertility states. Even with the education of the husband, in the low fertility state, there is some, what we can say that early age of sterilization for women has been lowered for higher secondary. But in high fertility states, it's almost like it's increasing by the age of the husband. For religion, Hindus are more likely to go for early age at sterilization as compared to Muslim and others. And this scenario has been same for both high fertility and low fertility states. If you look at the parity, the woman as compared to the woman with one child, women with two parity and the three or more parity are more likely to have early sterilized, age at early sterilization in both high fertility and low fertility states. But if we look at the sex composition, women at having only sons are more likely to have an early sterilization as compared to women who have daughters or a mixed composition of the sons and daughters. I have seen the interaction with the parity and sex composition in this analysis. It was found that in both parity, in both low and high fertility states, it has been lesser with the parity and others as compared to with only sons and the 1 and 2 parity. And with the age also, I found the similar results as the age and the parity age at median age of the early age of sterilization has been less as compared to others. In conclusion, this analysis found evidence of parity on early sterilization in both the states of India. With the interaction between parity and age of women, it is evident that cohort and parity effects were more prevalent in low fertility states than in high fertility states. Women in both these scenarios will undergo early sterilization at younger age when completed their fertility level, that is the desired level of fertility is reached. It is evident from methodic studies that sterilization has been prevalent method of contraception in India. This shows there is a lack of availability of other choices or lack of knowledge about other methods. With its increasing sterilization prevalence, there is an increase in regret among women, particularly women who lost their child at early ages. As after sterilization, there is fixed chances for convenient method there will be no childbearing after this. So in the high fertility states, even though the median age of sterilization is slightly higher than with a given infant and mortality rate, the regret of adopting this method may also rise in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srikanth Reddy. Thank you. And now I think all presentations are over, and we have only 1 minute to act,
Hello.
but
sir.
we'll complete all the formalities. Yes, we'll complete all
Hello.
the formalities. So yes. So now I may invite Muralidhar. He is the discussant of this session. So I may request Professor Muralidhar to make your observation on these 6 presentations. And then I may also request all the presenters to look into your this chat box, questions, queries. Please note it from the chat box also. And Professor Muralidhar, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. Just confirm I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, so let me first thank my colleagues, the organizers of the program, to consider me as a consultant, for such important topic. I think this is maybe, in my opinion, this is topic in any conference or seminar, any time it is evergreen topic. This reproductive and child health, especially reproductive health, got recognition in 1970s and 80s in the light of international conferences, and it was still better emphasized and recognized post Cairo conference in 1996. And then research on this topic got a very high boost during 90s and early and then 2000 onwards, in light of availability of the data with NFHS and DLHS coming into existence. So a vast work has been done on this topic over last maybe 20 to 30 years. And this all the papers dealt with this reproductive health, with exception of 1 paper out of 6 touched child health also. Otherwise, all the 5 papers dealt with various aspects of reproductive health. So as I said, a lot of work has been done. My overall observation is that, which applies in general to all the representation, all the presentations, to all authors may look into, is that when so much of work has been done, what all you have presented or results you have found, or in general the work you have done, certainly the work has been done on those topics, and yes, that type of results have been found. Okay, so extensive review of literature was a must, which was missing in my opinion, this one understanding whatever I saw, that extensive review of literature was not there. You are expected to look from 1990s onwards on that topic, what has been done, and I expected in each presentation at least 1 or 2 slides to highlight, to summarize what all has been done on this topic. Of course, there may be some rare exceptions, some of you may have done that, but by and large, that was my one observation, where I think most of the, I think all the presenters, all the papers have got certainly the scope for improvement. Another broader observation on the similar lines, that given that so much work has been done, when we are studying a particular, in a particular place, okay, whether it is Kerala or southern part of India or northern part of India or a particular state, or say Gwalior city, okay, I expected that you compare, if you are studying Gwalior, what is the situation in rest of Madhya Pradesh? What is the, if you are studying in the slums of Gwalior, then what is the status in other slums, other places, like that. So comparison across geographical area, and more important, comparison over time, okay, trend. Okay, now when you are analyzing NFHS 5 data, what was the situation regarding to NFHS 4, NFHS 3, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? So as I said earlier, that for a reader, it may appear what a critical reader or reviewer of these articles may find that, oh, what's new? It is already like that. Everybody knows. Okay. So if you do some comparison with previous studies, you will find the relative role. If not the very new variables you are finding, maybe relative comparison can be shown that this variable was more important earlier. Now in the changing scenario, the so and so variable is more important, etc. Okay. Now coming to the specific papers quickly, as I don't think we have much time. So in overall broad thing was that. Now coming to individual, this one, yeah. So most of my observations are the similar lines. Like when in first paper, when you study Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, so you have selected the bottom performing 3 states, and within that you are showing that Uttar Pradesh is better on the front of teenage pregnancy, but not so better on some other front. Okay, so if you compare with other places where things are better and find out what are the differences in other factors which are making the difference, which are potentially reason for this low performance in these states, that would have been better. And I expected that in your discussion, looking at your abstract towards end, I expected that you also talk about parents education reference I saw in the this your presentation, but not in the abstract, I think. So parents education and age at marriage, the role of these things should be this one. And while presentation, you said 7.9% in India and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Jharkhand results you presented. So the question comes, if it is already established, why your study? That type of things, because same thing you're presenting in introduction also and the starting of your results also. So those type of things have to be looked into. Second paper, I found that there is bit inconsistency among between title and objective. In title, you say effect of household wealth and migration on so and so, whereas in aim of that study, you write that you want to study how factors that affect utilization of family planning among migrant and poor. Okay. So one place you are saying if you want to study the effect of migration, other place you are saying you want to study something among migrant and poor, etc. So there is scope for correction there. And then paper number 3, cross-sectional study to assess reproductive and child health. Yes, Gwalior city. Yes. So I have marked in my note that comparison should have been there. You should compare and then conclude whether it is better or worse. Okay. So your conclusion is that things are not so good, but better to compare. Your analysis was very good. You have done detailed analysis of the things required. Table number, this presentation number 4, I have a specific observation. The title, to me, once I read first time, in fact, yesterday, this abstract title, I found that it is more like a news title. Okay, criticality of sex education as so and so suits amidst so and so. Okay, so it's I think it should have been unintended adolescent pregnancies or something sex education, something you have to take those wordings amidst COVID-19. Suits certainly has to be removed from the title. Okay, and then in your presentation, I think your presentation has had difficulty, right? So we could not see all these tables, but looking at the abstract again, it to me it appears more like a very good write-up. I find very good information also. I find I appreciate all those things, but it doesn't appear to me very much like a research paper, because I think more of conclusions and recommendations type you have written rather than giving specific results. Specific results and figures are completely missing to me in this abstract. So you may improve on that by writing more specific results in this abstract. And then coming to this, before I speak about paper 5, one more general observation was that many of you did not give your introduction in the first slide. Most of you we know actually, and Yusra Yen also gave the introduction, very good introduction in the title slide. But I think the author of paper number 4, Monisa Israni. In fact, during presentation I said introduce yourself and then start. Still, we didn't get the introduction. So in first title slide, you are always expected to write complete details of your title as well as your introduction, including affiliation, etc. Okay, so paper 5. You say it is a last sentence in your abstract. You say potential public health concern affecting the health of women and needs to be addressed. Okay, needs to be addressed. Then your research paper is supposed to recommend how it should be addressed. What are the factors you have studied? And so you should highlight those factors. And on those factors, this policy planners or whoever is there should focus and address. As far as the last paper is concerned, I have specific comment on your abstract. Okay, in abstract you have given some references which are not warranted. Okay, in your full paper, in order to support the submissions, you give references, but in abstract references are not required. References are abstract is just to give the idea to the author what work you have done, how you have done, what are the method and what are the findings, etc. So that if it interests the reader, then a reader can get interested and go for reading your paper like that. So another observation is that more than half of your abstract is introduction. Okay, and then starts this paper examines so and so the objectives. So ultimately here also the result is either not there or very less. Okay, so these were my points on which you all can improve. Most important one, I repeat again, review of literature and integrating the earlier into your study. Okay, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Murli, a very nice comment and observation. You have made a general observation and the topic specific, the presenter specific observation and comments. Those comments and observations are very valuable, and I hope that all the presenters will consider all those very valuable comments, and they will incorporate their paper for the further research. And we sort of time already, it is now 42. I had also several observations and queries, but I will not able to make all of them. But two observation on two papers, I would also, a small observation I would also like to make. One is related to paper 4. That is on intended adolescent pregnancy. Miss Monisha, she made a statement during her presentation that the marriage during the pandemic period, she is saying that it is encouraging. I will say that yes, in India there is a prevalence of child marriage, and still a considerable number of child marriage is taking place all over in India, particularly in the UAE state. But if you see the trend of the child marriage, it has been declining in many states. Maybe Bihar is the highest. Earlier, Rajasthan, it was the highest. Now Bihar is the highest. But if you see the analogies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the trend, you will see that it has been declining. That is not my point. My point is that you mentioned that during the pandemic, the marriage is encouraged. But I don't know what is, although you have used NFHS data, there are some your personal observation or something. But I think that during the pandemic, many marriages have been postponed because you see the government is not allowing. In Mumbai Municipal Corporation is there not allowing. There is no marriage pandal, no marriage facilities are available. So many marriages during the pandemic, I mean the period starting from the March to March 2020 to March 2022. I have a feeling that there are many marriages being postponed during this period. And then you are saying that during this period there is a lot of sexuality and child, particularly related to child. So be careful giving this kind of a statement. So that was one small things to mention related to paper 4. And one small suggestions, maybe observation or suggestions or questions is related to paper number 5, that is coming in India. And just you have categorized the age of the woman in the 3 or 4 categories, and you have also kept the women below 15. So in one category is women 15 to 29. And if you see the prevalence of hysterectomy and women in age group 15 to 29, it is just 0.6 or 8%. So what I am suggesting that, and the Professor Muralidhar rightly mentioned that you have not done the literature review. I mean, not only you, other people have done the literature review. We have written a very good paper on hysterectomy, myself, Professor Chandrasekhar and Professor Abhishek Singh, and it is on the NFHS data only. And what we have done is that, please read that paper. We because you see that the hysterectomy is not taking place in the early age of the virus. Is it not? Very, very less. Your data is showing, and the data is showing. It is only below up to 29 years of the married women. The hysterectomy prevalence is only 0.6%. So if you take the age group 30 and above, 30 to 49, you will get the different picture for India for various years. And also many things like the is not there. Then also in other paper we have found that most of the hysterectomy is taking place in the private hospital, not in the government hospital. So and so. So these few small observations. So because I have a lot of other observations, but I due to shortage of time, and now I'm stopping here. But it is to I'm requesting organizers. Should we continue? Should we allow one question to each presenter? If they have got questions, they can answer. Yes, should we allow? Should we allow? So if we are allowing, then first I request this Aditi Prasad. Can you just answer the observation made by Professor Costa? You have explained the chat box. So you are given. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Can you?
So yeah, one point, of course, I will look, I will explore the literature more, and I will do an extensive review of literature. And I'd like to thank all of you for the comments. One thing Muralidhar sir mentioned was, I think he mentioned that I wrote in my introduction as well as in my results that UP is performing worse than in India. I think I've not mentioned it in my results. It's only in the introduction part, or I'll just check it. What I meant to say was, at the national level, there is only 8% teenage pregnancy, while in Bihar and Jharkhand it's 12%, but in UP it's lower 4%. So I will be exploring that further in my studies. So if I'll just check, I'll make the necessary corrections. And yeah,
Okay, okay.
I
Now
also
let us go
received
to.
one more.
Okay, now let's
Right.
go. Okay, so now go to the next. Manoj Bhatwa. 1 minute, please. Just can you respond quickly?
Yes, sir. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes. Yes, you are audible.
Sir,
Go ahead.
actually, I am looking for in my study those who are poorer as well as migrant. These women have any double disadvantage for utilizing of family planning program. That's why my objective is pattern and factor which is effect for poorer as well as migrant.
Okay, okay. Now, next to Swati, Swati, please. 1 minute.
Thank you, sir.
Quick respond. Swati ji. Dr. Swati, is there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you want to respond anything? Do you want to say anything? What is the
Sir, in
observation?
future, I will compare the other states in Gwalior city and in other state also. In my study, there is
Okay.
only one slum.
Okay, okay, thank you. Now,
Yes,
next
thank you,
to,
sir. Thank you so much, sir.
okay, Monisha Israel.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, coming to your question, thanks a lot for reviewing my paper and for encouraging me to proceed with the presentation despite all the technical glitches. I would like to first address your point. It's a very valuable feedback that as far as the data is concerned, I could unfortunately I could not present the slides, but I have correlated the data between adolescent fertility rate with digital access to internet. So access to internet and the another variable was health work, because there was about family planning to non-users. So these are the two variables which I had compared with friends across different states. So it was an interstate comparison which I did, because we see that in states like Himachal Pradesh, where internet penetration is better, the adolescent fertility rate is low. So there could be possible correlation which requires in detail studies at state level, because there could be many other variables which could also be influencing this factor. But there is a possible trend between these two factors which I identified in my paper. And based on that, I identified the criticality for institutionalizing sex education, because adolescents, there is a felt need for access to information.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Now, next to Yusara. Yusara, can you respond anything, or do you want to respond? Yusara, please.
No, here I can. Hello.
Yes, yes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you so much for the comment. I just got I want to done future research for in that point. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then the last presenter is Srikant Reddy. Do you want to make any comment? Srikant Reddy. Srikant Reddy. Do you want to respond? Okay, I think there is some problem. So let us now to all in the presenter. I thank you, my colleague, Professor Muralidhar, Professor Shrikant Yadav, and organizers. Again, I thank all the members of the organizer. Dr. Rasmi is around. So thank you all the presenters making a very good presentation and very making it very interesting. And now I am handing it over to Dr. Rasmi. Dr. Rasmi, it is yours.
Thank you, Professor Paswan, for chairing the session. I also thank discussant Professor Muralidhar and Dr. Suryakant Rapotia for being a discussant and rapporteur for this session. And thank you all participants and attendees. Thank you very much.
Now we are